Hi, I'm Debbie, and welcome to Book and Bujo, where I talk about all things books, bullet journals, and stationery. It's time for my June TBRopoly. Welcome if you're new here, and welcome back if you've been here before. Each month I play TBRopoly, which is based on the Monopoly board game. So here's a quick recap of the rules if you aren't quite sure how it goes. So if I finish my previous TBR, I get a reward. Yay me! If not, then I get a punishment. I roll a 10-sided die to decide how many books I will read for the month. If I get 4 or less, then I have to roll again. If both rolls are less than 4, then I just combine the two rolls. So if I get a 3 one roll and a 2 the next, then I'm reading 5 books. Anytime I roll doubles, I have to add a book to my TBR, just like in Monopoly. You have to roll again. If I land on a blank space on the board, the total of the die chooses whether I pick one of the even cards or one of the odd cards. So the other spaces on the board are Go, which is a free choice, basically a mood read. Also my 23 in 2023 book list, a D20 roll, and I created a list of 20 books at the beginning of the year, and then I use that to choose my books. A non-reading prompt like painting, watching a movie, doing a face mask, taking a bath, something like that. A booktuber recommendation, A to Z challenge, where each book has to start with a letter of the alphabet. Non-fiction book, Readathon book, TBR jar, book club book, read a classic, Amazon borrows, where I roll my D10 die to choose which book I'll read from the 10 books that I have borrowed from Amazon at that time. If you're an Amazon Prime member, you get 10 borrows at a time from different books from their Prime reading list. And then there's also a space for the R Fantasy Bingo, which is new on the board this year because I just decided this year to take part in that. To count my TBR as completed, I need to have completed every book 100%. Or if I still have 1 or 2 that I haven't finished, but I'm at least 60% of the way through, then I count that as completed, as I will finish that within a day or 2 of the next month. So my punishment for not completing my TBR is to complete all of the unfinished books before I can start the next month's TBR. So I'm kind of playing with maybe doing a back and forth where one month I might have to finish all of the books that I didn't read. Maybe the following month it would be a book buying ban where I couldn't get any books at all, whether they be free or not, because there's a lot of free books on Kindle that you can get each month if you do some digging around. And I don't know. Trying to decide if I want to keep my punishments the same or not. Or maybe like do some of those where you have to read a book outside of your favorite genre or something like that. I have to play around with that one. I might change that up next year. We'll see. But before I start the rolls, let's see how I did in May. All right, for May, look at all those squares colored in. Very exciting. I haven't updated it yet. I have read a little bit more of that top one. As of now, I have one book that I have about 15 minutes left in. I'm like I'm basically on the epilogue, and then there's acknowledgments and whatever at the end. So I'm just about done with that one. I'll easily finish that one this afternoon. And then the other one, I am 56% of the way through, and I will be able to read another 10-15% tonight of that one. But I'm going to count that as completed per my rules, and I will finish that one most definitely tomorrow or the next day. So those will be completed. Very excited. Okay, so let's go through the rolls itself. So I did have a reward, and that was to swap a prompt with a mood read, and I did not use that. I think this is one of those rewards that it just doesn't really work for me because I like the variety of my TBR and having the randomness of not sure what you're going to read and getting out of my comfort zone to read other things. So I'm probably going to swap this one out for something else once I put it back in to my deck. So my first roll was an even, and that was even card, and that was to read a Jane Austen book. And I read The Watsons. So roll number 2 was an odd card, and that was to randomize my TBR. And I used a random number generator to choose a book from my Kindle book list, and it came up as For Fox's Sake, which is the first book in the Chaos of Foxes series by Emma Dean. Okay, my third roll was an even card, and that was to read a business book. Sorry, I'm playing with fountain pen inks today. Got it all over myself. So, business card, and for that I am reading YouTube Secrets by Sean Cannell and Benji Travis. That's the one I am about 56% of the way through right now, but I still have some time to get further into that, and I should finish that in the next couple of days. I'm trying not to rush through it though, because as it's a business book, I want to actually absorb the information, and I want to let it sink in and be able to learn from it and put it into practice in my life. So I'm not going to rush that one. I'm just going to keep reading that one until I'm done. And as a punishment anyway, I would have just kept reading it. Okay, so roll number 4 was a double, and so I added a roll to my TBR, and that was an even card, and that was to read a fantasy, which is super easy because I have so many fantasies that I read. I love fantasies. But I read The Bone Hunters by Steven Erikson, and this is the 6th book in the Malazan Book of the Fallen series, so I did read that. So roll number 5 was a TBR jar pick, and I pulled The Merry Adventures of Robin Hood, and that was by Howard Pyle, and I did read that. So roll number 6 was yet another even card, and for that I pulled the next book in the Rune series by Edna Walters, and I read Gods, which is the 10th book in the overall series, and it's the 3rd book in the Eric series, and all that's left in that entire series is Essence, which is a novella. So I'm almost completed that entire series. The Runes universe, we'll say, has 10 books total, well 11 if you count the novella, and there's 4 books from Rain's perspective, there's 3 books from Cora's perspective, and then there's 3 books from Eric's perspective. So they're a lot of fun. Roll number 7, I landed on Amazon Borrows, and I rolled a 1 with my 10-sided die, and I got My Mother Was Nuts, a memoir by Penny Marshall, and I read that. Roll number 8 was an odd card, and that was to read a book with a dragon on the cover. And I was going to, originally I chose Ascendant by Michael R. Miller, but then I remember that I had gotten about 100 pages into Dragon Mage by M.L. Spencer back in January, and I hadn't finished it because I had a lot of big books on my TBR that month, and so I didn't finish that one, so I read that instead. And it's over 850 pages, so I figured I still had 700 plus pages, so I would count that as a full book. So roll number 9 was another even card, and that was a TBR game. And for that, I choose a prompt from someone else's TBR game on YouTube, and I went with Kaylani Simply Me and her book Bingo, TBR Bingo, and her prompt was to read a TBR jar book. And so I pulled out my TBR jar again, and I got the Plague, or the Gateway Trackers, and I've read the first book already, so I was reading the second book on the series, and that was Plague of the Shattered, and that is by E.E. Holmes. If you want to know what I thought about each of the books that I read, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you will know whenever I post a new video and you don't miss my May wrap-up. How did you do in May? Were you able to complete your TBR? Let me know down in the comments. Since I completed my TBR, I get to choose a reward. So I got to choose a rewards card, and that one was to remove 1 spin from my TBR. All right, so let's go ahead and spin my 10-sided die and see how many books I'll be reading for June. 9 books. I decided, let's go ahead and use my reward and bring that down to 8 because I'm going to have a really busy month in June. I have a handbell concert coming up at the end of June, and we're going to have more rehearsals than usual. So we usually practice once a week, so now we're going to 2 times a week, but then the week before the concert we're practicing every single day, so I'm going to have a lot less time to read. So here's hoping that I only have to do 8 and I can get some small books on there. Let's see. There are quite a few books I need to get on my TBR in June, as I am hoping to participate in 5 readathons. I know, super ambitious since I have no time. There are 4 book clubs and 6 read-along books. Actually 5, because I already read one of the books in May because it was for May and June, and I read that in May, so I'm glad I read that in May. There's one less book. So the 4 book clubs that I'm participating in, we have the Howling Pack Book Club with Wild Sasha, and we're reading Of Blood and Fire. We're reading Of Blood and Fire, which I just got in. I'm so excited. So Of Blood and Fire by Ryan Cahill, which is the first book in the Bound and the Broken series. I have read this already. It's really shiny. So if I'm going to save this towards the end. If I have time, I'll get to it because I really want to reread it. But if not, then I may wait and reread that again later on in the year. For the Full Moon Book Club with Jan Agaton, we are reading Wayward by Amelia Hart, and I'm hoping that one comes in time for my library. I have it on hold, but there are a couple people in front of me, so we'll see, hopefully. And then Jashi Curran's J&R Book Club pick is Make Time, How to Focus on What Matters by Jake Knapp, and so that one's kind of interesting. And then the last one is a new one that I just decided to join, which of course, because I have so much time this month, let's just join another book club. But it's the Backlist Book Club with Covers with Cassidy, and I'm joining because I really want to read the series. It sounds interesting and everybody has really liked it, so I am really excited. And we're reading Red Sister by Mark Lawrence. So the read-alongs I'm doing this year are the Catch-Up Book Club, and we're reading The Lost Argument of Kings by Joe Abercrombie, and that's actually the one I read in May. The Cosmere Read-Along with Elliot Brooks, and we're starting Oathbringer, the first half, and then reading Edge Dancer. The Malazan Book of the Fallen Read-Along with Case Hidden Shelf is up to Reaper's Gale, which I believe is the 7th book in the Stephen Erickson series, Malazan Book of the Fallen. And for the Shadowhunter Read-Along with Love Lisa, we are reading Chain of Gold. So I'm also hoping I can get that from my library. They've had all the other ones, so I'm hoping to have that on the shelf. The plentitude of Readathons that I'm joining this month, which I lied at. There's actually 6. We'll see how it goes. So first off, I'm participating in Once Upon a Readathon with Hannah Blackwell. Also, the Back to Kindle with Readers C. Bookland Arcade with Books and Bobs, which actually started in May. It goes from May 20th to June 20th, so I'm going to continue with that one. Camp Season-a-thon with Kaylani Simply Me. Mini Star Hop with Stephanie's Bookverse. And Adventures in Aldea with G at Book Roast, so that's the year-long one. I will do a separate video for all of the readathons, so this video isn't like an hour long, because that's a lot. We'll do a separate video with the readathon books, and then we'll do, this one is basically just for my TBRopoly. Let's go to the rolls. All right, so this is where we ended in May, and let's start with our first roll. Oh, of course, doubles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And that's an even card. And that is to read a J.R.R. Tolkien book. So roll number 1. Nothing like starting off with doubles. So back to 9 rolls. Really glad I used my reward. I rolled an even card, and that is to read a J.R.R. Tolkien book. And I chose Voices of Poetry, Volume 1. I figured I should get a short book on my TBR to start with, just in case there's more doubles, because it happens. All right, roll number 2. We have 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. TBR jar. Give it a little shake. One more little shake there. Dead Souls. Roll number 2, I landed on TBR jar, and for that I pulled Dead Souls by Nikolai Gogol, and that is translated from Russian. All right, roll number 3 of 9. More doubles. Perfect. So now we're up to 10 rolls, so 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Another even. Read an ebook. Roll number 3. another double. Of course. 10 rolls now. So I got an even, and so I pulled a card to read an ebook. Yay, that helps with Back to Kindle Readathon, and I have lots of ebooks, so that works out great. So I actually chose Oathbringer, the third book in the Stormlight Archives by Sanderson, and this is one of my read-along books. I only need to get halfway through the book for the read-along, so we'll see how far I can get. I also have the audiobook for that, so that should help doing the mixed media, listening to it and reading it on my Kindle at the same time. I should be able to get through it a little bit faster, which is good because it's like 1,200 pages or something. Yeah, so as long as I can get through a good 600 and some pages, then that's gonna count as completed for the June TBR, because I can finish the other half in July for the read-along. All right, so roll 4 of 10 now. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. That's another even. To read a book from the Fated series. Oh, I've got a bunch of random books on here. This will be interesting. So roll number 4. I pulled another even card, and that was to read a book in the Fated series, and that is by Rachel M. Humphrey Daigle. The first book in the series is Awaken. All right, roll 5 of 10. 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Booktuber Rec. Roll number 5. I landed on Booktuber Rec, and I will be reading Reaper's Gale, the 7th book in the Malazan Book of the Fallen series by Stephen Erickson. And of course this was recommended by Case Hidden Shelf, Shelf Centered, like everyone on YouTube loves the Malazan Book of the Fallen series, so that's what I'm going with. Roll 6 of 7. Got a little crazy there. We got 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Nonfiction. Roll number 6, I landed on the space for nonfiction book. So I'll be reading the J&R Book Club book pick, Make Time, How to Focus on What Matters by Jake Knapp. Roll 7 of 10. More doubles. Perfect. So we've got 10 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. A classic. Roll number 7. Another double. Great. So now we're up to 11 rolls. So much for having a short TBR this month. Okay, so I'm starting to get a little nervous, but we'll see. I landed on classic, and I chose Mary Poppins by P.L. Travers, and that one's an audiobook, so I should be able to get through that in one day. So that'll be a fun one, and it'll be a nice, good palate cleanser book in between all of the fantasy books that I have as well. All right, I'm not fitting any of my books that I need to read this month on here yet, except for maybe one, so we'll see how it goes. So 2. All right, roll 8 of 11 now. More doubles. Oh, goodness. Well, I'm glad I used my remove a spin to begin with. All right, so 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. That's another even. A book you keep putting off. Roll number 8. Of course, it's another double. Why would it not be, right? Okay, so now I have 12 rolls. Definitely getting nervous now. Yeah. So I rolled an even card, and that is to read a book that you keep putting off. So I had a couple of books that I could choose from for this one. So I kind of had 3 books that I went back and forth on this one. So there's The 11th Metal by Sanderson, Of Dawn and Embers by Kyoko M. But for the sake of the size of my TBR, I'm going to go with Home, which is the 2nd book in the Binti series. All right, roll 9 of 11. More doubles. All right, 2. 1, 2, and yet again another even card. Through the Looking Glass. Roll number 9. Yet another double. Why not? Just toss them on. Keep them coming. Yeah, so 13 rolls now. Really glad I used that rewards card. Yeah, so I got another even card. And this one is to read Through the Looking Glass by Lewis Carroll. So at least it's another shorter book. So that's helpful. Another classic. All right, roll 10 of, oh, that's 12 now, right? Okay, so that is 10 of 13 now. So that's 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. An odd card as to read an adult book. What? Roll number 10. This time I actually got another odd card. Evens sure like to come up a lot. But that's to read an adult book. And I chose Wayward by Amelia Hart. And this is the Full Moon Book Club book for June. All right, roll 11 of 13. 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Another even. First in a series. Roll number 11. Doing good. No more doubles yet. Another even card to read the first book in a series. And for that, I picked Red Sister by Mark Lawrence, the first book in the Book of the Ancestors series, and also the Catch-Up Book Club's. No. The Backlist Book Club book pick for June. That was hard. I don't know why. Okay. Roll 12 of 13. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I almost want to say, like, if you pass go at least 3 times in the same game, maybe I should be able to get rid of a spin. I'll have to think about adding that. So we landed on even again. Oh, David Copperfield. Oh my goodness. Well, we'll see how that goes. Roll number 12. Yet another even card. And that is to read David Copperfield by Charles Dickens. Of course, another chunky book over 700 pages. Why not? Bring it on. Ooh, June's going to be interesting, and I was trying to shorten my TBRs for June, how many books I had to read. All right, 13 of 13, hopefully the very last roll. 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Amazon borrows. Hopefully I have something really short for that. All right, let's spin and see what number I will be choosing for my Amazon borrows. 6. Roll 13, my final roll. Hallelujah! So I landed on Amazon borrows again, which is kind of fun. And I rolled a 6, which is The Reign of the Dragon Queen, which is the first book in the Dragon Reign series by Cadence Connor. Don't really know anything about that, but there's dragons. So that helps me with Once Upon a Readathon. And a dragon is just awesome, so very fun. Whew. Those are all the books on my TBR for June. That's a lot. Oh, wait. I think one of my library books that I put on hold, it is an audiobook, so that's helpful. But I think that's coming up for me to read in June. I think there's only one person ahead of me. So I may need to read that as well. I may, if it fits, I may swap it with one of the other prompts. But I need to read all those books too, so we'll see. But it's Spice Road by Maya Ibrahim. So I'm very much looking forward to reading that. And I think July would have been better, but if it comes up, I will try and squeeze it in and see what happens. So do you choose a TBR each month, or do you just mood read? I'd love to find out. Let me know in the comments. And if you made it to the end of the video, say hello by leaving a book stack in the comments, since I have so many books on my TBR. I am going to be optimistic. I will make it through as many books as I possibly can, but I have a feeling I will probably have a punishment coming up in July. But thank you so much for joining me today, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Bye!